Good afternoon. Here is the news afternoon. First, the highlights. Lagos State Government inaugurates 17-member committee tasked with drafting, implementing policy for non-state schools. Federal government says new tax law to take effect from January 2026. On the front in India, mass deportation to Bangladesh draws mass condemnation. And in sports, Nigeria's hurdler Tobi Amusan joined star-studded 2025 Pafontaine Classic in United States of America. And now the details. I am Mike James. The Lagos State Government, through the Office of Education Quality Assurance, OEQA, has inaugurated a 17-member committee tasked with drafting and implementing a comprehensive policy for non-state schools in the state. Speaking at the inauguration ceremony held at the OEQA headquarters in Alausa, the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education, Abisola Dokumu Adigbite, said the initiative was in consonance with Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu's vision of leaving no child behind by providing equitable, high-quality education to all children, regardless of school type. Dokumu Adigbite said the committee is expected to produce a policy of world-class standard, urging members to prioritize both present and future needs while promoting educational equity. In his opening remarks, the coordinating director of OEQA, Remy Abdul, described the inauguration as a landmark step in the government's broader mission to transform the education sector. The Deputy Director, Public Affairs OEQA, Adikpeju Adeyemi, said the committee's work would culminate in the submission of the draft policy to the Lagos State House of Assembly for legislative backing, which would pave the way for implementation across all non-state educational institutions in the state. The Lagos State government has called on allottees of various state-owned housing estates who purchased home units on or before 2019 and are yet to collect a deed of subtitle document on their home unit to apply now. Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Housing, Abdulafiz Doriola, made the announcement at the monthly stakeholders meeting and public enlightenment for residents of state government-owned housing estate in Ikorodu division held at Ayogbore Jubilee Housing Estate, Ikorodu. Doriola said the deed of sub-lease document is a crucial property document issued by the state government to homeowners in government housing estates, which would serve as a proof of ownership and tenable for business transactions, especially to secure mortgages and collaterals. Doriola, who was represented by the Director of State Department, Olukemi Fushudu, pointed out that the deed of sub-lease is different from the letter of confirmation. He advised state-owned estate information sub-lease or contact their payments to visit the Department of Estate in the Ministry of Housing allows for verification of their allocation. The Permanent Secretary also called on allottees to take ownership of the estates, obey established rules and regulations, and live in harmony, thereby supporting the vision of the state's government. The Lagos State Environmental and Sanitation Corps, LAGESC, popularly known as KAI, has secured the arrest and subsequent arraignment of 8 environmental defaulters for charges bordering on breach of peace and public urination in the Yaba area of the state. Corps Marshal Olani Cole, who made this known, said the presiding magistrate sentenced the defaulters to 1 month imprisonment, stressing how the judgment has consolidated the level of deterrence to intending defaulters not to engage in acts of public indecency. Cole maintained that open urination and defecation remains banned and illegal in the state, as defaulters will be made to face the law. He reiterated the charge for street traders in the habit of displaying wares for sale on road setbacks, laybys, medians, verges, to desist from engaging in environmentally deterrence practices. And now to the rest of the stories. The chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue Service, FIRS, Zach Adon, and the regulator to change the system. Adedeji's announcement comes shortly after President Bola Tinubu assented to the 4 tax reform bills recently passed by the National Assembly. The 4 bills, the Nigeria Tax Bill, the Nigeria Tax Administration Bill, the Nigeria Revenue Service, Establishment Bill and the Joint Revenue Board Establishment Bill were passed by the National Assembly after extensive consultations with various interest groups and stakeholders. The Vice President Kashim Shettima has arrived in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, for an official state visit at the invitation of the Prime Minister of the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia, Abiy Ahmed Ali. Shettima was received at the airport by the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Ethiopia, Gideon Timotheos, and other members of the Ethiopian and Nigerian diplomatic corps. During the visit, Vice President Shettima will participate in the official launch of Ethiopia's Green Legacy Program, a flagship environmental initiative. The program, designed to combat deforestation, enhance biodiversity, and mitigate the adverse effect of climate change, targets the planting of 20 billion tree seedlings over a 4-year period. In line with strengthening bilateral ties in agriculture and industrial development, the Vice President will also embark on a strategic tour of key industrial zones and integrated agricultural facilities across selected regions of Ethiopia. And now to foreign news. India has deported without trial to Bangladesh hundreds of people. Officials from both sides said, drawing condemnation from activists and lawyers who called the recent expulsions illegal and based on ethnic profiling. Bangladesh, largely encircled by land by India, has seen relations with New Delhi turn icy since a mass surprise in 2024 toppled Dhaka's government, a former friend of India. But India also ramped up operations against migrants after a wider security crackdown in the wake of an attack in the west of April. 22 people, mainly Hindu tourists, in Indian-administered Kashmir. New Delhi blamed the attack on Pakistan, claims Islamabad rejected, with arguments culminating in a 4-day conflict that left more than 70 dead. Indian authorities launched an unprecedented countrywide security drive that has seen thousands being detained, and many of them eventually pushed across the border to Bangladesh at gunpoint. And over to sports news. World record holder Tobi Amusan has been confirmed for the women's 100 meters hurdles at the 50th edition of the Prefontaine Classic, set to take place on Saturday, July 5 at Hayward Field, Oregon, United States. The prestigious meet, part of Wanda Diamond League Series, will feature an elite cast of athletes, with Amusan lining up in one of the most anticipated events of the day, alongside reigning Olympic champion Marseille Russell of the United States and the world number 1 Jasmine Camacho Queen of Puerto Rico. Amusan's return to the Prefontaine Classic marks a symbolic homecoming as the Nigerian sprint queen set the current world record to 12.12 seconds on the same track during the 2022 World Athletics Championships. That performance not only earned her global acclaim, but also cemented her status as the most dominant force in women's sprint hurdles. That was our news at 12. Just before we go, remember, speed thrills but kills. Please, always avoid excessive speed. You can follow us and like all our various social media platforms. X, Traffic Radio 961. Facebook, Lagos Traffic Radio 96.1 FM. Instagram, Lagos Traffic Radio 961. Subscribe and watch our news and programs on YouTube, Traffic Radio 961. Our website, www.trafficradio961.ng. Listen to Lagos Traffic Radio live on My Lagos app for timely updates. Did you know that the Sanwo-Olu administration strengthened alliance with 200 representatives from various women-focused NGOs in the state? Well, you can get more details on the Legacy Government website. And to end the news, here are the highlights of the major stories. The Legacy Government, through the Office of Education Quality Assurance, or EQA, has inaugurated a 17-member committee tasked with drafting and implementing a comprehensive policy for non-state schools in the state. The chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue Service, FIRS, Zach Adedeji, has stated that the newly signed tax laws will take effect from January 1, 2026. We also told you that India has deported without trial to Bangladesh hundreds of people. Officials from both sides said, drawing condemnation from activists and lawyers who called the recent expulsions illegal and based on ethnic profiling. In sports, world record holder Tobi Amuso has been confirmed for the women's 100 meters hurdles at the 50th edition of the Paffontein Classic, set to take place on Saturday, July 5 at Hayward Field, United States. And for contacts with the newsroom, send a message to info@trafficradio961.ng. That ends the news broadcast compiled by Adiswa Ejoyeka. Thank you for listening. My name is Mike James. Good afternoon.